The Burwell School Historic Site in Hillsborough, North Carolina, tells the stories of the students who attended Robert and Anna Burwell School for Young Ladies during the antebellum era, the enslaved individuals who kept the school running, and the Burwell family, who for 20 years molded the minds of more than 200 young women. But who were the Burwells? Robert Armistead Burwell was born in Virginia on June 12, 1802, the eldest child of Armistead Burwell and his wife, Mary Trumbull. The Burwells were a prominent Virginia family dating back to the 1640s. In the 1820s, Armistead took a position as steward at the Presbyterian-affiliated college, Hampton-Sydney, in Farmville, Virginia. Robert was already a student there when his father moved the rest of his family to the school. Dating to 1775, the school counted well-known leaders Patrick Henry and James Madison among its first trustees. After he completed his studies at Hampton-Sydney, Robert stayed on to prepare for the ministry. In 1824, he was one of 3 students in the first class at the Associated Union Theological Seminary, which was modeled after the theological program at Princeton and led by John Holt Rice. By October 1826, Robert had been licensed to preach, and 4 years later, in 1830, he completed the extensive requirements to become ordained in the Presbyterian Church. In 1831, when Robert was 29 years old, he married 21-year-old Margaret Anna Robertson. Anna was a well-educated young woman with a distinguished lineage, being a direct descendant of colonial governor Alexander Spotswood. At the time of their marriage, the Burwells established their home in a coal mining region of Chesterfield County, Virginia, where Robert was called as minister at Wood's Church. The young couple received help from Robert's father in the form of a loan of an enslaved young woman born into his household in 1818 named Lizzie Hobbs. Lizzie's mother, Aggie, was a house servant and had raised the Burwell children, including Robert. There is speculation that Lizzie was actually the child of Armistead Burwell, making her Robert's half-sister. For many years, Lizzie would be the only servant, as slaves were called, in Robert's household, and to make the situation worse, she had a strained relationship with his wife, Anna. During the winter of 1835, Robert, Anna, and their 2 children, with Lizzie Hobbs, made the journey from Virginia to Hillsborough, North Carolina, where he was called to serve at Hillsborough Presbyterian Church. Hillsborough Presbyterian Church had been established in 1816 with the distinguished Reverend John Knox Witherspoon serving as its first minister. According to the letters between Robert and his sister Fanny in 1834, Robert was unhappy with his placement in Chesterfield County and wanted to find, if possible, a more inviting field of labor. He likely saw Hillsborough as a better setting for his growing family. Presbyterian ministers were expected to be exceptionally well educated, but they were often not highly compensated for their work. Robert was never paid more than $400 per year as minister in Hillsborough, and as the family would grow to 12 children, this was not enough to sustain them. Robert was described as being quiet and retiring, modest to a fault, and one of the best-read men of his day. But he left the management of house and home to his wife Anna. In 1837, with the support of several of Robert's parishioners, Anna opened a school for girls at their home to supplement his salary. Although the Burwells were dependent upon enslaved individuals to start the school and run the household, they didn't always treat them well. Lizzie Hobbs was repeatedly and severely beaten in an attempt to subdue her spirit. Lizzie told of these incidents in her autobiography, Behind the Scenes, published in 1868. She described Robert as a naturally good-hearted man and felt her poor treatment was due to the influence of his wife Anna. The continuing conflict between Lizzie and Anna may have led to Robert's decision in 1841 to send Lizzie and her son George back to his family in Virginia. During their tenure in Hillsborough, Robert would have spent most of his time tending to matters of his church, moderating meetings of the elders, preaching, and performing weddings as well as funerals. Beyond the church, he actively participated in various civic organizations. He was a founder of the Hillsborough Literary Society and served on a local temperance committee decrying the evils of alcohol. According to family accounts, Robert was involved with the school, but not to the same extent as his wife. However, in 1848, he chose to resign from the church and focus more on the school, which was undergoing renovation and being enlarged to accommodate more students. The Burwells operated their school in Hillsborough until 1857, when they seized the opportunity to move to Charlotte and run the Charlotte Female Institute, where they would remain until 1872. On June 21, 1871, Anna Burwell died in Raleigh and was buried in Charlotte. She was described as a helpmeet after the Bible pattern, and in every womanly way was his co-worker in Christian education. Not long after her death, Robert and his son, John Bott Burwell, left Charlotte and moved to Raleigh, where they would take over as principals at Peace Institute, another school for young ladies. On March 5, 1895, at the age of 93, Robert Armistead Burwell died in Raleigh, North Carolina, of bronchitis. After service in Raleigh, he was taken to Charlotte to be buried beside his wife and several of their children. The history of female education in North Carolina would be incomplete without the contributions of Robert and Anna Burwell. Numerous schools sprung from their educational model, and several are still in operation to this day. We look forward to sharing more with you about the Burwells and their school on your next visit to Hillsborough.